Time now for First Alert Weather with meteorologist Rob Nucatola.
Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. This is the last of the very warm and humid mornings, at least for now. I think what happens is we see those temperatures perk up to near 80 degrees, depending on who gets a few breaks of blue in the sky, and there won't be that many, and who gets some early showers. We'll watch those temperatures bounce around a bit in the upper and middle 70s. Maybe a few spots will give 80 a scare. After that, we start to bring things down tonight when the winds twist to the northwest behind this next boundary that gets here later on this afternoon, this evening, and then it'll take several hours for that cooler air to settle in, and then it'll keep rushing in tomorrow and really settle in for Saturday morning. Now, as far as the cloud cover goes, plenty of it. Maybe a couple of wet road surfaces out there, a few overnight sprinkles, and there's going to be a couple of showers at times today. But it's not widespread, everybody gets wet, soaking kind of rain. It's also not big all-day thunderstorm threats. Now, we could certainly fire up an isolated thunderstorm. We could definitely see a couple of scattered showers, and that's probably what we're looking at as this boundary continues to make its progress from west to east. There's a bunch of energy that extends all the way up north into the Great Lakes states, and behind all that, there's some real November weather, some much cooler air and much drier air that is set to arrive tonight into tomorrow and settle in for the upcoming weekend. And then I think we get some reinforcing shots of cooler air during the week next week, so that all should point us towards more typical, more seasonable, more November feeling weather, something we certainly haven't had yet, and we're about halfway through the month. It's 68 degrees this morning in Tallahassee. That's not November. It's 66 in Valdosta, it's 63 in Thomasville, way warmer than normal. We should be in the middle and upper 40s for morning temperatures. The breeze is mostly from the east or southeast. That'll be the main wind direction throughout the early part of today. Once the boundary comes through, we'll notice those winds twist toward the north and northwest, and now we'll know that we're starting to bring in that cooler and drier air. But it'll take a few hours for that cooler stuff to really get here. You can see how the temperatures more or less span the 60s until you head down towards Apalachicola, where it's still 76 this morning. I think at times it will be pretty breezy right now. I see most of those winds up to about 10 or 12 miles per hour. Places like Dothan, places like Apalachicola, those winds up to 14 or 18 miles per hour. And of course, when we have that breeze, we're not going to worry about fog. We do have some reduced visibility in Moultrie, down to 3 miles. Behind all of that messy looking green that's moving through parts of Alabama and Mississippi and into Georgia, that's where the cooler and drier air is, that's where higher pressure is, and that's what's going to settle in for the weekend. So I think we end up with lots of clear, lots of comfortable, lots of dry, but much cooler, much more seasonable. We're not talking middle of January cold and windy here, but very different from what we've been having. The Futurecast shows us that by 7, 8, 9 o'clock, that boundary is moving across the area. So maybe a little bit delayed from what we were thinking yesterday at 2, 3, 4 o'clock, so just about 4, 5, 6 hours a little bit later. And then once we get to the other side, now we bring in that cooler and drier air that should settle in for the weekend. I do see a lot of sunshine for the weekend. Should be a really nice mid-November weekend, feeling the way it's supposed to this time of the year. And I know a lot of us are wondering what's going on with whatever that is in the tropics. Well, this is what it looks like right now. At times looking a little bit more organized than at other times. It's getting right up against parts of Central America. It's going to spend the next couple of days over land, so we're going to find a lot and see what this is able to eventually emerge like. But let's watch and see what happens with all these land interactions before we start jumping to conclusions about what could happen a week down the road. Winds at 35 miles per hour near that core right now. It's moving west at 16, so we're still calling this Tropical Depression 19. For it to become Tropical Storm Sarah, it needs to get those winds up over 39 miles per hour. That's likely to happen today, but if it continues on that westerly trajectory and gets to land before that happens, that may beat it up pretty good. Now, how it meanders from there is still to be determined. So before we start getting too worked up about that cone, just remember, the interactions with land, those boundaries, and all the other obstacles in its place are going to really change a lot to do with not only the storm itself, but where that storm is going. So just be patient. On the Gulf today, south and south winds, southwest winds 10 to 20, seas 2 to 4 feet. Let's go with 60s this morning and still muggy. The rain chances ratchet up to like 40, 50% this afternoon. I think we get to the upper 70s. We'll go with the showers trying. It's not everybody getting wet today, but it is everybody being pretty cloudy and pretty muggy. Tonight, I think it's mid-50s. I would not be surprised if it gets a little cooler in a couple of locations. And here's that 7-day forecast. November is coming. It's going to get here tonight and tomorrow. This is going to stick around all weekend. Mid-40s, mid-70s, that's normal for this time of the year, and I think that's where we're headed.